Hi everyone, and welcome back to our National Beehives apiary, where we've actually only got one colony here at the moment, the rest being out on the oilseed rape. We thought we'd just shoot a quick video today showing you how you can make a very quick split should you have queen cells that you've discovered in your colony and you want to just maintain the colony strength but remove the queen and make a split. It's a really good method of being able to control that swarming impulse that the bees have got, but also maintain a colony that is going to produce some honey in the spring crop. So the situation we've got, we haven't actually opened this hive at the moment, but this is kind of how it's going to play out in a given scenario. So we're actually on a double brood here. You could simply split the double brood, put the top box onto a floor in some other area of your apiary, close them down, remove all but one of the queen cells if you've got queen cells, put the queen in the colony that doesn't have the queen cells, and away you go, you've got a split. It's a simple kind of walk away split that you can use. We've got a nuke box, so what we're going to do today is just go over to the colony, try and find the queen, put her plus a frame of emerging brood and a frame of food into the nuke box, replace those frames with frames of foundation, and if we've got queen cells, I'm going to knock them all down except one and leave one good queen cell. But if we haven't got queen cells, then they're going to produce queen cells, and then the next time we come over we'll have a look through, find the queen cells, remove them all except for one, and then we've got a split. But the benefit of this type of split is that we're making up a nuke with the old queen. That can go on to gradually increase. It's going to be a slow split, so we're not anticipating that nuke doing pretty much anything until the summer. So they'll have all of the rest of the spring and early summer to build up and then get transferred into a full-size hive. But the colony that's left behind will have the benefit of all the emerging brood, all of the flying bees. They won't have to put any energy in to looking after larvae at the moment, so all of their focus can go into honey production, so out foraging and building up stores, and then that colony will have a new queen. If you wanted to use it as a system of just queen replacement, then that would be good as well, and then you could unite them back with the nuke that you'd taken away at some point later. So let's take the camera over, have a look at the colony. We'll just carry out the split as if we've got queen cells, whether we've got them or not, and I'll just talk it through as we're going through the colony. So we'll just open up the colony, see how they're doing. Take this top box off first. It's well and truly stuck to the bottom box, and it's very heavy, so we'll just give that a lift down. One of the other methods of splitting from this, because we've got the BS honey nuke box, we could split it down into two 3-frame nukes. If we find queen cells, which I think I can see here anyway, we can actually use 2 of the queen cells. We could leave the queen here, or we could move the queen and leave one queen cell here and take one queen cell away with us. So let's just have a look and see what we've got. This end frame is actually stuck to the side wall, so I'm going to go in one frame in front of it. Okay, so we've just got a fairly standard brood pattern. Lots of young larvae, lots of pollen going in. So we'll just pop this one. There are some rudimentary queen cups. Looks like they might well be producing queen cells. So yeah, this one at the top has actually got some royal jelly in it, so there'll be a young larvae in there. So we'll just pop this down and have a look through to see if we can find the queen. At this point I need to put my glasses on. So we're going to do this relatively quickly because it is quite cool today. The weather has changed dramatically and we've lost the very, very warm weather and we're back down to kind of more normal temperatures. I'm just trying to get some light into the bottom of the cells so I can have a look to see if I can see some eggs. And before you knock down any queen cells, obviously you want to make sure that you do have eggs, because if you go through a colony knocking down queen cells and there are no eggs, you might well leave them hopelessly queenless. It's quite a chilly breeze, so I'm not going to waste too much time. Of course, with the double brood box, we've got 2 boxes to have to look through, so we've got another load of frames to check out. And hopefully, from memory, I'm not sure whether the queen in this colony is marked or not, so we'll have to just cross our fingers and hope that she is marked, and that makes her easy to see. So we've got several queen cells there, and in fact we've got a queen cell that's sealed, so we can use that queen cell in one of the nukes. And in fact, because we've got so many frames here, we could split them down and make up several nukes depending on how many queen cells we have. But at the moment I'm not seeing any eggs in this bottom box, so of course there is always the possibility that the bees may have swarmed now that there's a sealed queen cell. It can sometimes be difficult when you've got a double brood scenario, gauging whether you've got a full complement of bees or whether there are fewer bees than you would normally anticipate seeing. So I'm going to go through these boxes. If I find anything of interest, we'll grab it on camera, but for now I'm going to carry on searching and we'll just speed the video up to get to the point where we can make a decision. Okay, so this is fairly typical of a lot of beekeeping. I've come here to perform one task and I find myself doing something completely different. It looks as if this colony may have swarmed. There are a few eggs in the top box. I haven't seen the queen, so what I'm going to do, there are quite a few queen cells, so it would make sense to utilise those queen cells. So I'm going to go through this bottom box where the majority of the queen cells are, and I'm going to set up 4 3-frame nukes. We only need sufficient bees, because the queen cells are at the point of being capped, they will have sufficient royal jelly in them, so we can make up 4 small nukes, and then I'll place the top of the 2 boxes back on this floor, so that then becomes a single brood national beehive. I need to be careful just to check for the queen again, but because we've got eggs in that box, if I happen to get the queen in one of these 3-frame nukes, then The worst thing that can happen is she might swarm and leave a queen cell behind, and the new box that becomes the only box on this stand then has to produce a queen cell. But they're going to gather all of the flying bees, so we'll have sufficient bees to look after a queen cell, but these will just be 3-frame nukes to build up new virgin queens, and hopefully they'll go off and mate successfully. So I'm going to again go through this brood box, looking for queen cells, looking for the queen, and when I find an appropriate queen cell, it'll go in one of these boxes. Then we'll put a frame of food in with them so that they've got plenty of food, and ideally a frame of emerging brood as well. And that will use up all of the frames in this box, and then we can take this box away and replace it with the box that was on top. So I'm going to crack on with that. We'll let the video roll. It's trying to rain, so I'm going to do this as quickly as I can, and if again I find anything of real interest, we'll just slow the video down and I'll explain what I found. First of all, I need my smoker. So we've got a frame here that has been drawn and is a little bit uneven against the side of the brood box, so I've kept that one out of putting into the BS Honey nukes because it won't fit easily. So I'm just going to transfer all of the frames from the top box into this bottom box rather than swapping out the boxes. Haven't seen the queen, so I'm assuming, despite having a few eggs, that they have swarmed. I'm just checking again to see if I can see any eggs in more of these cells, but it does look as if they've swarmed. I was hoping in saying that I would turn the frame over and see the queen, but it hasn't happened. We'll keep looking just in case she is still in here. There are a lot of bees about to emerge, so there's going to be a lot of bees coming out of these cells. We have got a queen cell on the bottom of this frame, so we'll take that out. Because we have got some eggs in here, if they are queenless, they can produce another queen cell or several queen cells, so it's not a problem knocking them down. But I would say we're probably a day or two late in getting in to see this colony. It's starting to rain again, so we need to just get a shift on. One more frame to add. And this one they've stuck to the side wall of the box. So we'll push this one to the edge because we can then remove this one at a later stage. So not exactly what I was intending, but you have to make the most of what you're given. I'm pretty certain that they've swarmed. There were only a very few number of eggs in that colony. I didn't see any signs of the queen, so we're going to assume that she's disappeared into a hedge somewhere, which is a shame, but that's what happens. We've kind of taken our eye off the ball at this apiary. There's only the one colony because the rest are at the oilseed rape, and it's probably 9 or 10 days since we were here last, so that's just the way it goes. But the good news is we've now been able to make up those 4 3-frame nukes, each with a queen cell, so hopefully those will go on to develop into emerged queens. They'll go off and mate, and we'll find ourselves with 4 3-frame nukes that we can then put into full nukes in their own right and gradually build them up through this spring and into the summer. If you've got any questions, pop them in the section beneath the video. I'm sure there'll be plenty, and we'll catch up next time. Thanks for watching.